Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 333 based on novel. So let's start. The sound of huge waves of water suddenly sounded, the sound vibrated, making people shudder. At this time, it is clearly a rather wide forest, but the forest area is very small, and in the center of the forest is a scene like a sinking basin. The basin is surrounded by a white light, and the white light seems to be an enchantment. People can invade it, and even if you don't see it with your own eyes, you can imagine that it is a scene of white rivers roaring. No one knows where the source of these rivers comes from, but it is actually approaching from the edge of the forest to the center of the forest. Suddenly, in the collapsed basin, countless water flows converge into a spectacular waterfall, among the white waterfalls. It is full of shocking power, and there are some strange movements in it, that is, the so-called Glacier Tianhe, which means this place. How is the situation? There are already 3 teams of people on the edge of the basin waterfall that has sunk in the edge of the forest. Although these guys have soft eyes, everyone knows that this is because they have not found a way to enter the Glacier Tianhe. Otherwise, this silence will be disturbed. Break instantly. I still haven't found it. At the entrance of this glacial river, there is an extremely tyrannical barrier. Even if we gather the experience of all of us, we cannot see through it. As for the treasure here, I'm afraid it's located below the basin waterfall. Just to enter the bottom, you need to crack this weird barrier. For a while, several leaders of the 3 teams got up and said. The 3 teams consisted of Yu from the Soul Court, a force named Shentian Temple, and the other 5 people from the Earth Court. This is probably related to the undead fire, but the barrier seems to be tightly protected. Yu's soul body was wrapped in a black robe, standing alone, staring at the basin waterfall below, listening to the waves' unsurprised sound, murmured. I don't know that Xiao Yan and Irene are now. In another place, Hu Tianyuan of the Meteor sect in the 5-sect alliances wondered, obviously without Xiao Yang and the 2 of them, their 7-sect alliances are now only 5-sect alliances. I don't care about them. Although it was agreed that we would join forces at the beginning, but just after entering the holy town of the Undying, they separated. Now, they can only ask for their own blessings. At this time, Zhao Guang smiled slightly, his eyes were still staring at the waterfall in the basin below. With his power, he seemed to be able to detect that there were some terrifying creatures lurking below, except for the enchantment blocking their way. Where's Mu Wushuang? In the last place, there are only 2 figures of men. The figures of the 2 men are sluggish, and their bodies are wrapped by a mysterious force. From the outside, it is impossible to see their details and details. Strength. Starter. He went to find that little guy. Our top priority now is to break the barrier and get that thing before we can go to the interior of the holy town of the Undying. Otherwise, without that thing, we simply can't withstand the extreme heat of the Undying fire. And if Mu Wushuang gets that thing, we can also go directly to the interior of the holy town of the Undying. As he spoke, his eyes also became solemn. Squeak. With a sound, in the sparse trees in the forest, traces of black shadows emerged, as if some creatures were pouring into them. Everyone, it's not a solution for us to spend all this time here. It's better to join forces to break this barrier. When the time comes, the treasures in it will be yours. What do you guys think? After Shurenshi, the 2 men in Shentian Hall took a step forward and asked the other 2 groups. I agree. After blinking, Yu moved gently and said, even with her soul power, she couldn't penetrate the barrier and couldn't see what was below. At this time, the strong people stood on the edge of the basin, and could only hear the stormy waves. As for the bottom, it was completely filled with scenes of white aura, but there was no fog here, so your soul power and even perception are temporarily restored. What about you? Seeing Yu agreeing, the 2 powerhouses in Shentian Temple opened their mouths and said, Yu's strength is unquestionable, and she is also the top genius of the lower soul courtyard of the 5 major courtyards. With the help of this guy to break the enchantment, the success rate will undoubtedly increase greatly. We also agree. The 5 members of the 5-sect alliance looked at each other and said immediately, since that's the case, it's not too late, let's do it. As soon as the voice fell, the 2 powerhouses in Shentian Temple said, the 2 of us have things to break the barrier in our hands, but during this process, I am afraid that you will need to deal with the waterfall and the hidden threat. The 2 exchanged glances. Naturally. The others nodded when they heard the words. In an instant, the figures of everyone flew towards the barrier at the same time, and the incomparably dazzling fighting chi spread out from the body. These guys are really good tricks. But the thing below, I'm afraid it really has something to do with the undead fire, and listening to the two guys' voices, it seems that the place where the undead fire exists is quite hot. I don't know if the power of the two holy flames in my body can resist the heat. After Xiao Yang finished speaking, the dark shadows in the forest were disappearing, and it was obvious that he was going back to look for the two of Irene. Hey, the mantis catching the cicada and the oriole is behind. This time, I'll see where you are fleeing. As Xiao Yang carefully left here, a strange figure also appeared, but Xiao Yang didn't notice the aura of black qi is exactly the same as Mu Wushuang who fought with Xiao Yang and the two before. Let's go. After Xiao Yang came here, he briefly communicated with Irene and said, but this little guy. For a while the two also hesitated. Xiao Zhuama has no power in her body, and her background is mysterious. Now the place where Xiao Yang and the others are going is extremely dangerous. With a little girl who is helpless, even Xiao Yang can't guarantee her safety. Big sister, I can protect myself. Little Dolma was quite spiritual. Seeing the hesitant expressions of the two, a stream of light burst out from his eyes, and a trace of grey flames suddenly permeated from his body. Grey flame. Seeing this, Xiao Yang narrowed his pupils and lost his voice. This flame is very similar to undead fire, but its power is only the tyrannical power of a fire-type celestial seed. It's really strange. Xiao Yang felt it carefully and shook his head in disappointment. According to Xiao Yang's information, undying fire is as expected. It should be a grey flame, exactly the same as the flame on Xiao Zhuama's body at this time, but the holy flame, Fenju, and other things in his body did not emit any breath. This made Xiao Yang quite puzzled. Forget it, let's go first. After a while, the three figures were hiding, and they slowly walked towards the waterfall barrier in the center of the forest. Boom. Hold me up. At this time, white energy beams burst out from the waterfall in the center. The power contained in them was shocking. At the same time, there seemed to be some horror below the barrier that could not be entered. The breath is slowly awakening. This is Desolate Beast. And before seeing the mysterious creature far away, Yue looked vigilant and lost his voice. Crash. Immediately, a stream of water emerged directly from the impenetrable barrier below. Then, a figure of a behemoth slowly appeared in everyone's sight, but it was wrapped in countless turbulent currents. It was impossible to identify what kind of creature it was in a short time, but the majestic aura showed its extraordinary origin. Damn, what is this? The powerhouses of the Five Sects Alliance were originally standing in the void, exerting their fighting spirit to resist the enchantment power, so as to protect the law for the two of the Shentian Temple, but now with the emergence of a mysterious creature, immediately, there was a touch of fear, and it suddenly appeared. It seemed that the mysterious creature hidden under the water could easily kill them, and there was a hint of retreat immediately. It's just that they didn't find out that the two of them in Shentian Temple had been preparing to crack the barrier, but they were actually secretly moving some hands and feet. With the appearance of this behemoth, a trace of cracks appeared on the edge of the barrier. No, go back. At the same time, Yue, who was standing at the front of the team, snorted softly, his figure burst back, and left the void in the basin's enchantment. Obviously, with the tyranny of her soul, she had already noticed it. Creatures hidden under the water curtain. After a while, the huge figure wrapped in the water flow in the sky, the body vibrated like a mountain shaking, the water curtain all over the body was directly shaken away, and the turbulent water flow burst out at the other powerhouses. As for its figure, it also appeared in the sight of everyone. This is a wild beast. Looking at the huge creature with a body length of nearly 1,000 meters in front of him, the pupils of everyone present shrank tightly and lost their voices. I didn't expect that there are such creatures guarding here. In the dark, Xiao Yang and the three of them lurked at ease. At this time, Xiao Yang stared at the behemoth. You know? What kind of creature is this? Looking at this breath, I'm afraid it is comparable to the power of the early stage of the human five-star fighting immortal. Irene hugged little Zhuama tightly and asked. This ancient giant beast is called Huang. Some people also call it a desolate beast, because its existence is the birthplace of the fate of the heavens and the earth. The place where it exists is the blessed land of the heavens, and it breeds countless miracles. Xiao Yang said softly. Looking around, that Huang is like two balls, one big and one small. The lower body is round, but on top of his body, bursts of silver scales emerge, and above the silver scales, there is an extremely weak miniature ball. Above the ball, a pair of pupils shimmering with silver luster slowly emerged. In addition to the fatness of his arms and feet, it seems that this guy's random strikes contain quite terrifying power. He has a small head and a big belly. This guy looks very stupid. Seeing such a creature emerge, Irene wondered. Obviously, it is difficult to associate a creature of this level with a wild beast. Together. Go ahead and obliterate this guardian, and the rest is ours. Seeing the appearance of the wild beast, the two of Shentian Hall shouted at the crowd, but their eyes were still fixed on the knot. The cracks on the edge of the world, they know that with their 3 teams, it is quite difficult to repel the wild beasts, let alone obliterate them. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, the two of them looked at each other in Shentian Hall, and the incomparably fierce and gloomy ghostly energy also permeated from other bodies, and then the figure was as fast as lightning, and it easily attacked Huang's body. Bang bang bang. The gloomy ghost chi carried a shocking and terrifying power, but when the 2 dim light beams attacked the barren and bulging body, it was like hitting cotton and did not cause any damage to it. This guy, it's not easy. Seeing the 2 in Shentian Hall, Yu and the powerhouses of the 5 sect alliances suddenly felt nervous. Among the 5 alliances, only Zhao Guang was the only one in the early stage of 5-star Dozian. Not gaining any advantage in the hands of such a beast makes them quite vigilant. Why are you still standing there? Do it. This beast's defense is too tyrannical. The 2 figures in Shentian Temple burst back, and immediately roared at the other 2 teams. Do it. Seeing the 2 people in Shentian Hall being so embarrassed, the dazzling Do-Chi fluctuations spread out from the 5 members of the 5-sect alliance, and at the same time they attacked Huang. This guy seems to be doing it on purpose. What is it doing? Yua didn't act rashly. With her soul power, she could easily find out that the reason for Huang's quietness was not fear of them, but something brewing. This guy has a lot of dark diseases in his body, and he actually wants to use their power to restore himself. It's really a very high intelligence. Master of Fireguard, let's go. At the end of the sentence, an extremely vague black shadow followed Xiao Yang's back to face the crowd, but no one noticed that Xiao Yang, who had cast Master of Fireguard, was clearly visible. There is no shadow. Damn. This guy's turtle shell is too hard, our attack can't cause any injury to him, and it's not the way to go on like this. After a few minutes, the 5 powerhouses of the 5 Sects Alliance and the Shentian Temple too continued in succession. They shot, but their power disappeared strangely after hitting the silver scales of Huang's lower body, but no one noticed that the cracks on the edge of the enchantment in front of them were quite obvious. Just when everyone was at a loss, the barren silver pupils suddenly opened, and a more powerful aura permeated instantly. This beast actually used our power to restore his origin. It's probably already comparable to the powerhouses in the middle stage of the human 5-star fighting immortals. At this time, the 2 powerhouses in the Shentian Temple had dark eyes, looking at the barren beast guarding the edge of the barrier. The huge body squirmed in an instant, and then a silver force, centered on itself, with an extremely tyrannical destructive wave, attacked everyone, and the force was filled with the power of the crowd is extremely strange. I'll still come. Ghost spirits. Looking at this scene Shentian Temple, the strange handprints of the palms of the 2 changed, and in a short period of time, they turned into a strange palm surrounded by dim light. The palm of the hand is surrounded by dim light as a whole, and there are even traces of suffocating fluctuations in it. A person from the Kingdom of Ghosts. Irene below looked at this scene and said abruptly, "The Kingdom of Ghosts." Xiao Yang was shocked when he heard the words, as if he had thought of something. Boom 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 boom. Huang's attack collided instantly, and the extremely hot energy sparked everywhere, causing the temperature here to soar suddenly, but the place where the explosion was secretly transferred to the knot by the 2 guys in Shentian Temple. Cracks at the edge of the border. Wong buzzing. With a sound, the weak crack instantly magnified several times. Whoosh whoosh. These 2 guys really have ghost. Follow. In an instant, Xiao Yang and the 3 of them turned into a stream of light and fell directly into the fleeting void. At the same time, Yu and Mu Wushuang followed along, leaving only 5 alliances left. The guy is dealing with the wild beast. It all happened in a flash. Before the 5 members of the 5-sect alliance had time to do anything, the rift closed instantly, leaving an extremely angry wasteland, and their situation was probably in jeopardy. And with the appearance and disappearance of this strange void, everyone also directly penetrated the mysterious barrier and the guardian of the Baron, and headed towards the bottom of the glacial Tianhe. And this time, the most important thing in the glacier Tianhe is probably about to emerge. There was a squirming in the space, Xiao Yang and the others directly entered the interior of the glacier Tianhe, but when Xiao Yang penetrated the mysterious barrier, a cold feeling like the baptism of the soul filled his body. After a while, Xiao Yang couldn't help shivering. Obviously, this kind of cold was not from the body, but aimed at the soul in general. It was because of Xiao Yang's tyranny that he was afraid after a while. Here. After penetrating the barrier, the panorama of this place was immediately seen by Xiao Yang. Here is an ice palace like a solitary peak, and around it is a waterfall that is full of 100 meters tall. The waterfall is in a circle, surrounded by surging waterfalls, and the water flow is majestic. At the center, there is a magnificent ice palace completely formed of ice blocks. It is cold and terrifying. New 81 Chinese website updates the fastest mobile terminal, HTTPS. At this time, in addition to Xiao Yang and the three of them, there are two people from Shentian Temple, Yu and Mu Wushuang, who has been following Xiao Yang in secret, and Xiao Yang's fireguard master is also under Xiao Yang's mobilization. Hide beside yourself. Here. After a while, Erina hugged little Dolma, stared vigilantly at the abnormally cold ice around her, and said. At first glance, there was a flat floor in front of the three of them, and the center of the floor seemed to be the channel that connects China Unicom and entered the lower part of the ice palace. Big brother, below. Little Dolma on the side pointed to the bottom with excited eyes, and said. In this ice palace, you can't see anything below from top to bottom, and it is completely blocked by layers of ice, but the road in the center of the ice is a strange spiral, which is quite strange, and the temperature here is extremely low. It is the kind of cold that comes from the depths of the soul, so even Xiao Yang can't help but be surprised. These guys, they're not weak. Moreover, there are traces of familiar fluctuations in this man. It seems that I want to try him. If possible, I'm afraid it will be enough to become a powerful aid for my revenge. The faint traces of footprints in the ice layer followed Xiao Yanji. People. Spiritual skill, Spirit Python captures the soul. When Xiao Yang and the others just moved towards the central passage of the ice layer, a roar emerged directly from the ice layer, and Xiao Yang couldn't help feeling a severe sense of numbness in his scalp. Boom. Yu Ming Tian trance. Xiao Yang's heart trembled violently, and he did not dare to slacken any slack immediately. The spiritual palace in his body quickly surged, and waves of invisible energy ripples filled Xiao Yang's body at the same time. Crash. The two soul powers are both colorless and transparent, but the power contained in them is enough to easily obliterate ordinary four-star fighting immortals. With a sound, the two attacks instantly intertwined and immediately exploded. The ice layer, which had always been incomparably strong, was temporarily smashed by the power of the two, and several conspicuous huge holes appeared. Who? Seeing that the two were evenly matched, Xiao Yang looked at the extremely smooth ice layer vigilantly and said solemnly, "The strength of the first person in the courtyard really deserves his reputation." After a long time, a black aura appeared under the ice layer, but there seemed to be some strange aura in it. Ghost thing? Xiao Yang frowned when he saw the figure wrapped in black robe appear. No, this guy isn't a ghost. This guy should be the proud son of heaven in the soul court, Yua. At this time, Irene shook her head and said, the breath under the black robe made her feel familiar. Irene. I can't believe that you still haven't stepped into the five-star fighting immortal. At this time, the black robe was removed by its shadow, and a rather ordinary appearance appeared in the eyes of the two of them. Soul Academy powerhouse, but why is it a soul body? Xiao Yang wondered. The Soul Academy is too mysterious, and I remember that the teacher said that in the Soul Academy, because of its particularity, I am afraid that there are some soul bodies. But not long ago, counting the time, it should be that before and after you went to the acacia tree, some great changes took place in the Soul Academy, which caused the current status and strength of the Soul Academy to plummet. Looking at Yu in front of her, Irene shook her head and said, regarding the looting of the Soul Academy and the theft of the research items by mysterious powerhouses, even if most of the powerhouses in the Soul Realm were dispatched, it could not be solved. Irene still had some doubts in her heart. That mysterious person is the Lord of Li's soul. Yu took off his black robe and faced Xiao Yang with his true face. He immediately stared at Xiao Yang, as if he was telling Xiao Yang something. As for Xiao Zhuama, his body it was protected by the grey power and stood motionless beside Irene. Then what? Xiao Yang heard the words, nodded slowly, and asked with great interest. Your soul power seems to be as tyrannical as mine. This is the first time I have seen it in my life. Yu continued. The Lord of Soul Li is the mortal enemy of the remaining powerhouses in our Soul Academy. If there is a chance, I think we can cooperate. Seeing Xiao Yang like this, Yu said. Cooperation? Xiao Yang asked again in astonishment. Although this Yu's soul power is exactly the same as his own, Xiao Yang knows that if it is a real life and death struggle, I am afraid that only relying on his own soul power will not be able to defeat her. You have the power of holy flame in your body. Although I can't be sure, it shouldn't be wrong. And among the topics that our Soul Institute spends our energy and time researching, the ghost world's ghosts devour the holy flame is the most important part. Yu opened his mouth slightly, as if eating Xiao Yang. Because ghosts in the ghost world are bodies of souls and souls, it is extremely difficult to revive them as humans, not to mention some tyrannical powerhouses. It is even more difficult, so this topic we study has become a rewrite of ghost world ghosts. The highest rule of the law: if this transaction is successful, I will tell you the secret. Seeing Xiao Yang's unmoved appearance, Yu continued. The way the ghosts in the ghost world devour the holy flame. Xiao Yang was speechless when he heard this. He already had Fenju in his body, so naturally he didn't need these things, but since Yu's words came to this point, Xiao Yang naturally wouldn't sit back and watch. Regardless of Change 1. Xiao Yang shook his head. What do you need? Yu frowned. I need the specific maps of the 4 major temples within the Temple of the Lord of Souls. Xiao Yang said coldly. Now that the Lord of Li Soul has taken the acacia flame, and he has obtained the swallowing method from the Soul Academy, he is throwing the undead fire to attract firepower. According to Xiao Yang's guess, the Lord of Li Soul at this time should be secretly hiding in the dark, devouring acacia flame, so the location of the 4 major temples has become the top priority. Map of the 4 great temples? Could it be that you want to forcibly break into the Temple of the Lord of Souls? That's a place guarded by 8-star fighting immortals. Yu. Seeing Xiao Yenyu's unsurprising attitude, Yu hesitated for a while. She naturally possesses the most detailed map of the 4 temples. If you think my conditions are acceptable, you can continue to mention your transaction. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can only say sorry. Xiao Yang looked at Yu's hesitant appearance, and said with a smile. Since this guy wants to find his own cooperation, it is natural to prepare for hemorrhage. Yu guy is a lion. Yu heard the words and couldn't help but feel a little resentful. If it weren't for the things in the ice palace below, only the power of the soul could be obtained. Yu naturally wouldn't seek Xiao Yang's help, but as of now, I'm afraid it can only be traded. What do you think? Xiao Yang said jokingly. Obviously, he also had a slight sense of the mysterious thing at the bottom, so he dared to speak like a lion. I promise you. If you help me obtain the treasure below, I will give you the detailed map of the Shrine of the Lord of Souls. But if it doesn't work, I'm afraid. Yu said after some thought. Okay. Hearing this, Xiao Yang nodded lightly. Although the things below are mysterious and precious, but now that he has 2 holy flames, he is naturally not afraid. What exactly is below? Watching the 2 reach a deal, Erina pulled little Dolma. Her eyes seemed to want to look through this airtight ice layer, but unfortunately she couldn't see what was at the bottom of the ice palace. There is a precious medicinal herb called Han-Yuling bamboo here. Yu did not shy away and said directly. Han-Yuling bamboo? Irene was slightly surprised when she heard the words. Obviously, something of this level must be very valuable, but if there was only one medicinal herb, how could so many strong men rush to it? Han-Yuling bamboo, mortals only know that this is a medicinal material, but they don't know its mysterious effect. It is green in color and can block most of the power of flames. It can be said to be the nemesis of some flames. With it, I am afraid it is quite easy to enter the hot zone. It's not a long-term solution. Xiao Yang immediately explained that for an alchemist, the efficacy of these herbs is naturally kept in mind. But they didn't leave the good undead Holy Tan. Why did they come here to get this thing? After a while, Xiao Yang was also puzzled. According to the information I got, the Holy Tan of the Undying is at the core of this place, and there is a sea of fire there. With my soul power, I'm afraid I wouldn't dare to stay for a quarter of an hour, so I'm looking for these heaven and earth spirits that shelter the flames. It has become a crucial step to enter the core of the Holy Tan of the Undying. Yu explained. It seems that this immortal fire is not so simple. Xiao Yang nodded. How can it be simple for the top 20 flames on the Holy Flame list? Let's go. As soon as the voice fell, several people concealed their figures, and directly followed the spiral staircase in the center of the ice layer, step by step toward the bottom of the ice palace, but the temperature, the further down, it was surprisingly cold. And even below, there are already several figures standing slowly. What should I do now? The ice layer that protects this thing can't be broken even if we work together. At the bottom of the ice palace, in a fairly flat earth vein, the 2 people in Shentian Hall appeared one after the other, but they were standing on the ice layer. Above, and in front of the 2, a spectacular scene of ice sculptures emerged. Among the ice sculptures was a green plant that was as lush as bamboo. Cold jade bamboo. This thing is the representative of the power of extreme cold. With its protection, I am afraid that it can weaken the power of fire attribute power by nearly 30%. This thing is indestructible, but if it is destroyed, I am afraid that we will enter the holy Tan of the Undying, and it will be more fortunate. One of the two shook his head helplessly. Sacrificing the soul lock. Immortal fire is imminent, can't wait. If the journey of undead fire is successful, the status and strength of our ghost kingdom will also rise. As soon as the voice fell, a circle of black lines burst out around the two bodies, and the black lines slowly condensed into a pitch-black chain the size of 100 feet. The dark chains had just appeared, and bursts of screams and roars erupted uncontrollably. Even above the chains, illusory soul bodies struggled hard, as if trying to break free from their shackles. The power of the soul lock. Break it for me. The soul locks of the two seem to be the same, but they are different. After a while, the two snorted coldly. Ice sculpture. The ice sculpture was attacked like this, and some pieces of ice fell off it directly. Even the cold jade bamboo inside was shaken a little, but it didn't have too many strong fluctuations. Strange, how come the methods these guys use are exactly the same as the Soul Palace? Is this Ghost Kingdom really as I guessed? The Ghost Kingdom is part of the power of the Soul Clan? It is also said that they have some unspeakable secrets. Xiao Yang and the others relied on the tyrannical soul power to wrap up, and the Shentian Temple too concentrated on dealing with the ice sculptures, so they did not find them. Just as Xiao Yang, who has fought with the Soul Clan for many years for Yang, the methods of the Soul Race are too familiar. Do it. At this time, Yu also knew that she couldn't wait any longer, and immediately shouted. Yu's voice just fell, and the power of the souls that wrapped them spread out like ripples, and the bodies of the four people also emerged, but Xiao Zhuoma's eyes were only staring at the green plants inside the ice sculpture. There are enemies. At that time, the keen sense of smell of the two powerhouses in Shentian Temple directly discovered Xiao Yang and the others, and the soul locks wrapped around them and a cold light shot out from their eyes. Half-step 5-star fighting immortals will be handed over to you, and I will do the rest. After Yu finished speaking, a strange light flashed all over his body, and he immediately confronted the strongest of the two. These two are both soul bodies, but their soul power is quite weak, not as tyrannical as Xiao Yang and the other two, but the ghost energy in them is heart-pounding. The soul power of the two of you may be our best tonic, let's catch it. Chichi's novel was first published on the internet. Seeing that Xiao Yang was only in the middle stage of 4-star fighting immortals, the man suddenly sneered, his voice filled with a fiery taste. Hey! Xiao Yang didn't act rashly, but a strange force within his body wriggled, and Xiao Yang's shadow immediately fell off and was hidden in the void, and no one else noticed it for a while. There are 3 people in Shentian Hall this time. The leader is Shen Yuan, who is the strength of the 5-star fighting immortal early stage. The second person is named Mu Wushuang, who is also the strength of the 5-star fighting immortal early stage, and the last person is Qian Feng, the strength of a half-step 5-star fighting immortal. Give me death. Soul lock, sacrifice to the sky. Qian Feng stared at Xiao Yang with gloomy eyes, and immediately waved his hand. The dark soul lock roared away with a wave of terrifying waves that eroded his heart. What a tyrannical attack, but the seal of the Heavenly King. Seeing this, Xiao Yang didn't panic. The fighting force within his body tumbled violently. The handprints suddenly folded together. Immediately, the ancient handprints continued to change. Suddenly, in front of his palm, bursts of masculine power sprang up like bamboo shoots after a rain, come back to life. Boom! The terrifying energy ripples spread out from the two, but the temperature here did not change because of the battle between the two, but it was getting lower and lower. This guy, I can't see that there is a second chance. Seeing Xiao Yang's constant battle with Qian Feng not far away, Yu was also completely relieved. Being able to use the middle stage of the 4-star Dozian and the half-step 5-star Dozian powerhouse to draw a tie, this kind of record, even if it is placed in the entire Li Soul realm, is enough to be called a true genius. The Soul Courtyard is quiet. Shen Yuan's eyes were indifferent, he didn't make a rash move, and muttered slightly. Your Shentian Hall, as the shelter of the 5 major courtyards, is so blatant. You really are not small. Yu also snorted coldly, and a terrifying offensive permeated. The purpose of what we did, how could you understand? So, suffer to death. As soon as the words fell, the dazzling offensive of the two was directly displayed, and then the battle between Yu and Shen Yuan started directly, and the two's offensive was extremely violent. The power on this guy is really tyrannical and strange. It can't be delayed. Xiao Yang and Qian Feng's battle, although Xiao Yang was evenly matched from the beginning, but with the passage of time, the gap between the strengths has been reflected, and now it has been at the disadvantage, but Xiao Yang did not use swallowing. Yanju just wanted to rely on the power of the dragon god transformation and wanted to compete with this guy, now it seems, so it is still too reluctant. Let me fall here. Tianfeng also found that although Xiao Yang's combat power was extremely terrifying, his own strength was too weak, so Xiao Yang's fall was only a matter of time. Haha, really? Swallowing the flames. After a while, Xiao Yang's eyes became sharp, and waves of strange power surged from the deepest part of his body. Immediately, the red cauldron in front of his chest flashed away. At the same time, Xiao Yang's strength it also suddenly soared, directly from the mid-level of the 4-star Dozian, to the half-step 5-star Dozian level in an instant. Although this kind of skyrocketing strength with the help of external forces is quite different from the half-step 5-star Dozian that Tianfeng really cultivated, but with Xiao Yang the various advantages of the martial arts and fighting skills on the body are enough to be easily wiped out. Secret method to increase strength in a short period of time? Half-step 5-star fighting immortals? Tianfeng, who had already won the lottery, frowned, and immediately said, even a trace of greed emerged from the bottom of his heart. The secret technique of increasing his strength in a short period of time is only a little bit at best. Tianfeng is still quite enthusiastic about Xiao Yang's mysterious fighting skills that directly increase his strength by nearly 3 stars. 7th layer of breaking the sky. Xiao Yang's strength soared after the swallowing of flames. He immediately sneered, and immediately pulled the heavy ruler from behind and slashed it away. In a short period of time, 7 flaming giant rulers in a row directly turned into 7 flames. Struggling with the giant snake, go away. At this moment, Tianfeng's face also became serious. No matter what, the current Xiao Yang really has the capital to confront him head-on. Since you have performed such a trick, in return, let you see what a real ghost in the ghost world is. A burst of dazzling ghost chi burst out directly from Tianfeng's body, completely covering the ice surface. This guy, what is he doing? Xiao Yang was enveloped in incomparably hot red flames, and his eyes were fixed on Tianfeng. Ghost Spirit Devil Wolf. After a while, in the dark ghost aura that covered the sun, a behemoth emerged, like a demon crawling out of the depths of hell. The breath and strength of that kind of breath became dignified stand-up. Boom. With a sound, a giant demonic wolf with strong limbs crawled out of it. The devil wolf was enveloped in dark ghost aura, and it looked extremely strong. Even on its limbs, some faint worm-like lines permeated quietly, and the existence of these lines made the devil wolf aura and strength. The overlord of the previous party, tear him apart for me. It seemed that Tianfeng had consumed a lot of power to summon this guy, and he immediately roared at the behemoth. The demon wolf nodded knowingly when he heard the words, and then his head just stared at Xiao Yang, and the boundless ghostly aura slowly shook. It's comparable to the creatures in the early stage of human beings 5-star fighting immortals. Then let's take a look. Seeing this, Xiao Yang not only had no fear in his heart, but even had a trace of luck. After the blink of an eye, the demonic wolf moved, and under the cover of the ghostly energy above the ice layer, the figure shot directly at Xiao Yang. In the void, even because the demonic wolf was too fast, there was a illusory shattering. Bang bang bang. Between the electric light and flint, the devil wolf came directly to Xiao Yang's side for dozens of meters. His front claws suddenly lifted, entangled in countless ghost chi, and immediately slapped Xiao Yang with his claws. Move the sky ruler. The ancient ruler of the eternal fire in Xiao Yang's hand changed into a mysterious pattern, and immediately moved his attack to the past. Boom. On the edge of their battle, ghost energy claws emerged, but the seemingly solid layer of ice was pierced by anger. Red flame sea of fire. Seeing this appearance, Xiao Yang said with a smile on his lips, the burning art in his body was running at a high speed, and the power of the great celestial seed Fei Yan flew away like spring water, and immediately completely wrapped all the ghost energy, even the inside of the body. The power of Huaxin Tianyang also emerged. At the same time, the ghost chi that covered the sun was actually enveloped by Xiao Yang's sea of fire, giving off a hint of fear. It seems that you ghost seems to be afraid of my flames. Seeing such a dramatic scene, Xiao Yang smiled slowly. The khaki flames slowly lingered, and even at the moment when these two flames appeared, the face of Tianfeng, who had always been calm, became ugly. Holy, the power of holy flame. The short words contained an unbelievable look. The original inhabitants of the ghost world are all ghosts, souls, and souls. The restraint of flames on them can be described as a real purgatory. Not good. Ghost spirit devil wolf come back soon. Looking at such a hot sea of fire, the fiery red power instantly turned into a khaki flame. Tianfeng's pressure increased greatly, and he hurriedly burst at the devil wolf beside him. Drink. Starter. This devil wolf is a creature transformed by the ghost energy in his body. If the devil wolf is damaged, I am afraid that his origin will also be shaken. Late. Fire. Rock breaking heaven burial. Break me. Seeing Tianfeng's appearance, Xiao Yan raised his palm directly, and the ancient ruler of eternal fire was wrapped in the power of the khaki holy flame and flew towards him to prevent him from escaping. On the other side, countless flames in the sea of fire suddenly gathered towards the devil wolf, an extremely tyrannical suppression swept out. Boom. The speed of the devil wolf was extremely fast, but in Xiao Yan's sea of fire, it was difficult to move. Even if it tried to escape, it was chased away by Xiao Yan for a while. Bang bang bang. The sea of flames condensed directly around the demonic wolf, and letting the demonic wolf struggle, and how the ghost roared would not help. After a while, countless flames were compressed around the devil wolf, and then Xiao Yan gave an order. The flames attached to the devil wolf's body, and the extremely terrifying flame actually drove away all the countless ghosts on the devil wolf's body, even the devil's skin. It was also directly blown away. With a sound, the body of the demon wolf was completely crushed by Xiao Yanyan's heaven-shattering burial, and the ice palace was restored to its original cold appearance. However, Tianfeng's face was pale, and the dim light from his mouth overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Xiao Yan's actions seriously injured him completely. This video will end here.